This shouldn't be happening. For centuries, we've been building ever more powerful telescopes and gazing into the night sky. We think we're seeing the entire vast universe in all its splendor. We joyfully map galaxies and measure distances to distant stars. But what appears before our eyes is nothing but a grand deception. Reality is nothing like what we were taught in school during astronomy lessons. Our best physical models suddenly stop working on cosmic scales. We expected to see a logical and fully understandable structure of the universe. Instead, we discovered a frightening void that behaves completely unpredictably. Our picture of the world is literally crumbling before our eyes as we try to look further. For decades, astrophysicists assured us that we had almost completely unraveled the mysteries of the cosmos. It seemed that all that remained was to fine-tune a few details and formulas, but the latest data from the most powerful orbital observatories have completely shattered that confidence. It turns out that we are utterly blind in our own cosmic home. And the further we look, the more terrifying this inexplicable blindness becomes. Our brains have evolved to understand very simple and local earthly scales. We can easily imagine the dimensions of our hometown or a vast continent. Even the enormous planet Earth is intuitively comprehensible to our modest human consciousness. We can fly around it in a fast plane and physically perceive its clear boundaries. This gives us a false sense of complete control over the surrounding reality. Our daily life unfolds within this comfortable and predictable three-dimensional framework. All of our history and culture are built on this solid earthly foundation. We measure distances in steps, meters, and kilometers, which is perfectly suited to our planet. Our minds are accustomed to the idea that any object can ultimately be reached or touched. Mountains seem gigantic to us, and oceans appear as truly endless expanses of water. But this convenient coordinate system works only on the surface of our little rocky sphere. Beyond the atmosphere, entirely different and frightening laws of geometry apply. Then we look up at the night sky and try to grasp the scale of the solar system. Our own sun is so enormous that it could easily accommodate over 1 million planets like Earth. It takes light a full 8 minutes to travel the distance from the scorching star to our eyes. It seems to us like an incredibly vast and empty space. The planets revolve in their orbits, creating the illusion of a flawless clockwork mechanism. But in reality, it is just a tiny speck of dust on the true scale of the boundless cosmos. Spacecraft fly for decades just to reach the outer reaches of our planetary home. The distances between the orbits of the giant planets are measured in billions of kilometers of dead emptiness. The human mind already begins to falter at this stage, trying to visualize such colossal distances. We draw simplified diagrams in textbooks to somehow fit the system into our minds. These images greatly distort reality, making space seem more cozy and intimate. The true emptiness between the planets is vast and utterly indifferent to our existence. To measure even greater distances, scientists devised the elegant concept of the light year. This is the gigantic distance that the fastest beam of light travels in an entire Earth year. The very idea forces our fragile imagination to work at the limits of its physical capabilities. In a single second, light circles the Earth 7 times. Now imagine a year of such a journey. The star closest to us is more than 4 such light years away. It seems we are beginning to grasp the true scale of our stellar neighborhood. A journey to a neighboring star using modern chemical rockets would take tens of thousands of years. This makes other solar systems physically out of reach for our current level of technology. We can only gaze upon their dim light through the lenses of powerful ground-based telescopes. Every star in the sky is like an isolated island in a vast ocean of emptiness. The distances between these islands are so great that light travels through them for centuries. But even this grand picture is merely a local stellar suburb. This logical picture of the world has long reassured us and given us a sense of stability. We are certain that the universe is simply an infinite cluster of such bright stars. Our orbital telescopes work flawlessly, recording glowing points in absolute cold emptiness. Astronomers use proven mathematical formulas to accurately calculate astronomical distances and orbits. Everything goes strictly according to plan, and science triumphs with every confident step. It would seem that we have finally deciphered the blueprint of this grand cosmos. But then, we point our best instruments into truly deep and dark space. We decide to look beyond our nearest stellar neighbors into the very depths of the night sky. And this is where our neat logic begins to suffer catastrophic system failures. We encounter phenomena that simply do not fit into the earthly frameworks we are accustomed to. What we see in the images completely contradicts our basic scientific expectations. The scale becomes so monstrous that the human brain physically refuses to comprehend it. For hundreds of years, we considered our galaxy to be the only star cluster in the entire universe. But powerful lenses have revealed that millions of other galaxies lie hidden beyond the boundaries of our home. Each of them contains billions of stars and possesses its own incredible dimensions. The space between these galactic islands is millions of times greater than the distances between stars. These bottomless chasms are filled with invisible dark matter and permeated by weak magnetic fields. Our minds simply drown in these monstrous and unimaginable numbers. It turns out that our magnificent Milky Way galaxy is just a microscopic drop. It contains hundreds of billions of stars, but on a macro scale, it has no real significance. Our spiral galaxy is merely an insignificant part of the gigantic Laniakea supercluster, and there are millions of such enormous superclusters in the universe, scattered everywhere like glowing dust. The meters and kilometers we are accustomed to lose all practical meaning here. We become witnesses to an architecture created by forces of incredible and terrifying power. Superclusters form gigantic filaments that intertwine into a colossal cosmic web. This incredible structure permeates the entire observable universe from edge to edge. Between these luminous filaments lie colossal dead voids known as voids. In these absolute deserts, there are neither galaxies nor stars, only primordial cold darkness. These voids span hundreds of millions of light-years across, and our Laniakea hangs alone on the edge of one such grand cosmic abyss. We expected to see a smooth and intuitive transition from the small scale to the grand. Instead, we discovered a sharp and merciless cliff into a terrifying infinity. Our evolutionary intuition shatters completely against the cold mathematical reality of cosmic spaces. We realize with horror that our solar system is not even a tiny grain of sand on a beach. It is merely a mathematical abstraction that barely exists in physical reality. Humanity has found itself lost in the labyrinths of a gigantic, speechless structure. And this is only the beginning of our descent into true existential horror. The problem is not merely that the universe is unimaginably vast and boundless. The main problem lies in how strangely it is organized at this macro level. We sincerely hope to find a uniform distribution of matter, a calm and predictable space. But the structure of the universe turned out to be frighteningly chaotic, and at the same time, strictly mathematically ordered. This sends chills down the spines of even the most experienced and pragmatic astrophysicists. Our best telescopes detect things that shouldn't exist according to the laws of classical physics. The further we look into the void, the more the very concept of distance becomes distorted. Space begins to behave like a gigantic, living, and completely unpredictable organism. It stretches and warps in ways we cannot yet logically explain. Our familiar, cozy, three-dimensional world is turning into a frightening and unstable optical illusion. Gravity bends light rays, turning the cosmos into a giant hall of funhouse mirrors. We arrogantly thought we could measure the universe using our light years. But even light turned out to be too slow and cumbersome a tool for this colossal task. Our great pride in Earth's technologies quickly gave way to a complete lack of understanding of what was happening. We stand on the threshold of a great discovery that will forever change our perception. New physics demands that we abandon everything we were taught in school, and what lies ahead shatters every stereotype about reality. There is a strict limit to what we are physically capable of seeing. Astronomers call this mysterious boundary our visible or observable universe. It is a gigantic sphere with Earth at its geometric center, with a diameter of about 93 billion light-years. It seems like a colossal space that contains absolutely the entire universe. We naively and presumptuously assume that this is the entirety of existing physical reality. Such figures sound like the final word in studying the dimensions of our world. The dimensions of this sphere are calculated based on the speed of light and the age of the cosmos itself. Inside this gigantic sphere are hundreds of billions of galaxies of various shapes and incredible sizes. We can study their radiation, analyze their chemical composition, and calculate the masses of distant stars. Our radio telescopes pick up the ancient echoes of the Big Bang itself, coming from the farthest reaches of the cosmos. This creates the pleasant illusion that humanity has full access to the mysteries of nature. But the true picture of reality hides a monumental deception. But this is a colossal delusion that only temporarily soothes our frightened minds. The observable universe is merely that finite volume of space from which light has had time to reach us. About 13,800,000,000 years have passed since the Big Bang. Light from more distant cosmic objects is simply still on its long journey to our telescopes. This means that we are in a kind of information bubble, cut off from the rest of the world. We are firmly locked within the sphere of our own limited light horizon. This fact deals a cruel blow to our anthropocentrism and sense of self-importance. We do not see the entire real universe. We see only a tiny local fragment of it. Beyond the boundaries of our visible bubble, space continues, and perhaps it extends infinitely. There are trillions of other beautiful galaxies out there, the existence of which we will never know. Their light simply has no physical chance of ever reaching our optical instruments. This thought makes us feel trapped in a cramped spherical information cage. Modern cosmological models claim that the cosmos beyond our boundary is completely identical to our own. The same bright stars burn there, supernovae explode, and black holes form. But this unreachable world is cut off from us by an insurmountable physical barrier of time and speed. Even if we built the most incredible telescope in the universe, it would show us nothing new. The information simply isn't here at our point in space. It hasn't arrived yet. What we thought was the entire vast universe turned out to be nothing more than our modest local room. We are categorically prevented from peeking behind the closed door and seeing the true scale. The difference between the observable and the true universe is fundamental and vitally important for modern science. It clearly demonstrates the absolute limitations of any of our optical or radio wave investigations. We are trying to describe a gigantic, invisible elephant by feeling only the tip of its tail. Scientists are forced to admit that most of reality is hidden from us forever. This is the greatest disappointment in the history of astronomical observation. This daunting limitation drives leading cosmologists and physicists around the world to despair. We construct the most complex mathematical theories, about the shape and curvature of the entire vast universe. But our empirical data is based on only a tiny fraction of the existing information. It's like trying to guess the convoluted plot of a long movie based on a single random frame. We are fundamentally deprived of the ability to fully comprehend the grand world around us. All our knowledge balances on a fine line between facts and bold assumptions. In an attempt to circumvent this limitation, theorists create incredible concepts of an infinite multiverse. They suggest that our gigantic bubble is just one of countless other worlds. Perhaps our reality is like foam, where each bubble has its own physical laws. But it does not seem possible to test these hypotheses experimentally, even in the distant future. We have run into the strongest and most insurmountable wall of all possible ones. This wall is woven from the very nature of space and the speed of light. And the strangest thing is that this gigantic bubble of visibility is not static. The boundary of the observable universe is constantly and inexorably receding as light travels toward us. With each new day on Earth, we theoretically see a little more than we could see yesterday. Light from objects that were just beyond the boundary finally reaches our detectors. It would seem that, over time, we will be able to see the entire boundless reality in all its splendor. But the laws of physics have prepared an incredibly cruel and absolutely insurmountable surprise for us. Our space behaves completely differently from the ordinary, familiar void. It possesses its own, terrifying physical properties, which we are only now beginning to understand. The very fabric of the universe is expanding in all directions at a colossal and accelerating rate. This expansion is not occurring in space. Rather, the very fabric of reality is stretching. And over vast distances, this happens much faster than even the fastest light can travel. We are faced with a paradox that completely shatters our familiar worldview. Scientists attribute this insane process to a mysterious force known as dark energy. This enigmatic and invisible force makes up the majority of the total mass of our universe. It acts like gravity in reverse, forcefully pushing galaxies apart in different directions. The greater the distance between objects, the stronger this invisible repulsion becomes. This is precisely why, on a gigantic scale, the expansion becomes truly monstrous and insurmountable. Because of this insane expansion, distant galaxies are rapidly flying away from us into the darkness. The recession velocity of these galaxies is constantly increasing with every passing second. At some point, at the edges of our visible sphere, this velocity exceeds the maximum permissible speed of light. This does not contradict the laws of physics at all, because it is not the material object itself that is moving. It is space itself that is expanding between us and those distant stellar islands. But the practical consequences of this phenomenon for Earth-based science are simply catastrophic and irreversible. We are losing this cosmic race against time. Those beautiful objects that we see clearly through telescopes today will soon vanish from view forever. Their light will never again be able to cross this monstrously rapidly expanding chasm of space. Photons will fly toward us, but the distance will grow faster than their speed. Our visible sphere of reality is slowly but surely beginning to empty at its edges. We are witnessing entire stellar worlds being erased from our sky. It looks like a system crash of a gigantic cosmic program, deleting files into the recycle bin. In tens of billions of years, the night sky above Earth will change radically beyond recognition. All other galaxies outside our local group will fly far beyond the event horizon. Future astronomers will see only endless, pitch-black darkness through their instruments. They will sincerely believe that our galaxy is the only thing that exists in the empty cosmos. We expected that, over time, our knowledge would only grow and strengthen thanks to technology. But due to the treacherous properties of space, we are inevitably and irrevocably losing access to information. Reality is literally slipping through our fingers, hiding forever behind the impenetrable veil of expansion. Our gigantic bubble of visibility is becoming not a window to the world, but a dark prison slowly closing in. We see only a brief, bright flash of information on the infinite timescale of the cosmos. Soon, all bridges between the distant islands of the universe will be burned forever by dark energy. We will be left only to study our own galaxy, slowly fading away in absolute solitude. And we are utterly powerless to stop this terrifying cosmological process. This brings us to one of the bleakest concepts in modern cosmology. We are talking about the cosmological event horizon, which surrounds us on all sides. Usually, we hear this term only in the context of terrifying black holes. There, the event horizon is the boundary beyond which light cannot overcome gravity. But on the scale of the entire universe, this term takes on an even more ominous meaning. The cosmological event horizon is the limit of our future interaction with the cosmos. If right now some distant galaxy crosses this invisible mathematical boundary, we lose it. Any light or radio signal sent by it today will never reach Earth. The space between us will expand faster than a photons can travel. This is the point of absolute and irreversible no return on the scale of the universe. We will still be able to see the old light from this galaxy for billions of years to come. It will appear to us as if frozen in time, slowly fading and turning red. We will naively think that it is still there, in the void. But in reality, it has long since crossed the boundary of our physical reach. It has become a ghost whose true fate is forever hidden from our eyes. This means that a vast part of the universe is already lost to us. We cannot physically reach it or send any message there. Even if we built a ship traveling at the speed of light, it would not help. The expanding universe would simply tear apart any attempt at intergalactic contact. Our universe is rigidly divided into isolated zones that will never intersect. This fact causes deep existential anxiety for many researchers. We realize that we will never be able to influence most of the existing world. We find ourselves locked in our local sector with no right to escape. All our grand ambitions to conquer space are shattered by this harsh physics. The cosmological horizon is a perfect cage built from the very fabric of space. And the most terrifying thing is the relentless dynamics of this process. The event horizon does not stand still. It is slowly contracting around us. With each passing day, more and more galaxies cross this fateful invisible line. Our window into the vast universe is closing with frightening inevitability. We live in an era when the sky is still full of stars, but this is a temporary privilege. Scientists of the future, if humanity survives, will see a completely different picture of the sky. To them, space will look like an utterly dark and empty abyss. All neighboring galaxies will vanish beyond the event horizon and dissolve into the darkness. Our distant descendants will not even have the opportunity to learn about the Big Bang. They will simply have no visual evidence of the expansion of space. Their science will hold that the entire universe consists of a single galaxy. They will live in absolute certainty that they are surrounded by an eternal and unchanging void. We are a unique generation still permitted to see the true scale of things. But we are forced to watch helplessly as this scale is erased from reality. Our cosmos is literally disappearing before our eyes, piece by piece. This idea shatters our familiar understanding of the stability of the world around us. We are used to thinking that the universe is eternal and always open to exploration. Instead, we see a mechanism that deliberately erases its own history. Space functions like a ruthless eraser, destroying any information about its neighbors. This makes one wonder about the ultimate and frightening purpose of such a strange design. Why did reality feel the need to isolate each of its fragments from one another? It looks like a strict quarantine imposed on every single star system without exception. No one is supposed to know of the other's existence, and no one is supposed to meet. The event horizon is not just a boundary, it is the absolute law of universal solitude. And we can do nothing to oppose this mathematical verdict. If we look at the universe on the largest possible scale, we will see something incredible. For a long time, astronomers believed that countless galaxies were simply scattered chaotically throughout dark space. It seemed logical that these cosmic islands would float in absolute emptiness without any order. But modern technology and powerful orbital telescopes have revealed a completely different picture to us. Galaxies are not scattered randomly at all. They obey a strict and global geometry. They form gigantic structures of unimaginable size. Astrophysicists call this stunning phenomenon by the daunting term cosmic web, and its appearance shatters all our intuitive, Earth-based notions of the nature of things. Looking at three-dimensional maps of space, scientists are truly overwhelmed by the scale. This is not just a cluster of stars. It is a unified and astonishingly complex architectural design. This web consists of colossal luminous filaments, literally woven from thousands of galaxies. Each such galaxy contains billions of stars and planets similar to our own. These dense stellar rivers stretch for hundreds of millions of light-years through the interstellar void. They permeate all visible space, creating a gigantic luminous framework. Primordial cosmic gas and matter flow continuously along these lines. Where these filaments intersect, incredibly dense and massive knots form. These are the so-called giant superclusters, uniting thousands of star systems in a single location. Gravity draws matter there from all the surrounding cosmic highways. This is the largest ordered structure known to us in observable reality. Its true scale is so grandiose that the human brain simply refuses to process it. But between these glowing filaments lies something far more sinister and strange. A vast portion of the universe's volume is occupied by so-called voids, or great voids. These are colossal spherical regions of absolute nothingness, where there are practically no galaxies or stars. They occupy most of all the space we know. These dark voids separate the sparkling threads of the web with impassable chasms. These dead zones span billions of light-years across. They look like monstrous rips in the fabric of space itself. Even light takes entire eons just to cross a single void from edge to edge. Against the backdrop of these black holes in space, even the great superclusters appear as thin threads. These are the most desolate and lonely places in the entire vast universe. According to our classical logic, matter should have been distributed absolutely uniformly after the Big Bang. Scientists expected to see a picture resembling an ideal gas, uniformly filling an empty room. Every region of space was supposed to receive roughly the same amount of building material. But instead, the universe resembles a giant porous sponge made of voids and thin walls. Huge volumes of space simply contain absolutely nothing. This alarming unevenness is a fundamental mystery for all of terrestrial cosmology. No one can fully explain why matter gathered into thin filaments, leaving vast voids around them. Nature clearly played by rules that we are not yet able to comprehend. The scientific community has been struggling for decades to unravel this phenomenon. When we realize this chilling fact, the first wave of true horror sets in. Imagine for a second a thought experiment where you find yourself at the very center of such a vast void. If your home planet had formed there, you would see absolutely nothing in the sky. Not a single twinkling star or colorful nebula would ever shine in your night sky. There would be only an absolutely black, deafening, endless abyss in every possible direction. You would look into space and see perfect darkness without a single glimmer of hope. Ancient civilizations on such a planet would never have invented beautiful constellations or astrology. You wouldn't even know of the existence of the rest of the universe without the creation of powerful optical telescopes. Your cosmic loneliness would be absolute and unshakable. This global structure of the cosmic web looks too artificial and frighteningly regular. In computer models, it bears an uncanny resemblance to the neural network of a massive biological brain. Galaxies perfectly play the role of synapses and neurons, while vast voids separate them with strict boundaries. Information in the form of gravitational waves and light travels along these threads from one end to the other. Such a frightening visual resemblance leads some scientists to put forward the wildest philosophical hypotheses. Thoughts arise that the entire observable universe might be part of a thinking mechanism. It is as if we are tiny microbes inside an unimaginably gigantic organism. Of course, this is just a beautiful metaphor, but it perfectly reflects our bewilderment. Humanity is frantically searching for any comprehensible earthly analogies for the inexplicable cosmos. But the main problem lies in the physics of this massive structure's behavior. When we try to calculate the mass of these filaments, the equations simply stop working. Scientists carefully weigh every luminous point, but the result always turns out to be negligible. The combined gravity of all visible stars is categorically insufficient to hold the web together. According to all known laws of physics, these clusters should have disintegrated long ago. The rotation of the nodes is so rapid that matter should be flying off in all directions. Our best model of reality insists that this structure has no right to exist. There is too little visible ordinary matter to create such a powerful and durable gravitational framework. We are observing a grandiose architectural structure that completely lacks a physical foundation. This means that our basic concepts of mass and gravity are fundamentally incorrect. Something colossal is happening that we cannot see at all with our best optical instruments. This dissonance between theory and observations is causing deep scientific panic. We have built all of physics on the study of the visible matter of Earth and the Sun. We sincerely believed that these laws are universal across the entire vast web of the universe. But the universe mockingly ignores our formulas and continues to exist steadily. This is the first loud wake-up call signaling our absolute blindness in the universe. We have realized that the world we see is merely the tip of a gigantic iceberg. Shining galaxies and stars are not the very structure of reality, but merely the paint on it. They merely illuminate an invisible framework, the nature of which we do not understand. Our knowledge of the universe is crumbling right before our eyes, leaving only troubling questions. And what replaces this knowledge turns out to be far more terrifying than complete ignorance. Faced with the impossibility of explaining the cosmic web, scientists began new calculations. They attempted to mathematically determine exactly how much mass was missing to balance the entire system. The planet's brightest minds and powerful supercomputers spent months analyzing the motion of distant galaxies. The results of these calculations came as the greatest shock in the history of human science. The numbers turned out to be so incredible that physicists initially attributed them to equipment errors. It turned out that all the matter we are capable of seeing constitutes a negligible fraction of the universe. Our picture of the world turned out to be wrong not by a couple of small percentages, but almost entirely. For centuries, we took pride in our knowledge, but in reality, we were describing only a tiny speck of reality. all our encyclopedias and physics textbooks cover only a minuscule fraction of existing phenomena. The surrounding cosmos appeared completely alien and unlike anything we were accustomed to studying. Just imagine all the bright stars and massive gas giants that exist. Think of all the rocky planets, icy comets, dense cosmic dust, and black holes. Add up all the galaxies that we have so diligently mapped over decades. Absolutely every atom that makes up you, Earth, and your loved ones. This entire colossal and familiar physical world occupies less than 4% of all reality. The rest of the infinite expanse is filled with something we are not even capable of comprehending. We are merely a statistical error on the scale of the true and boundless universe. Our basic matter is a rare exception, accidentally squeezed into this alien world. This monumental discovery boggles the mind with its terrifying and utterly uncompromising simplicity. We spent our whole lives thinking we were studying the universe, but we were studying only its pitiful shadow. 96% of what actually exists around us is completely invisible. This enormous amount of mass does not emit light, does not reflect it, and does not absorb it in any way. It does not interact at all with our most sensitive and advanced instruments. We are literally swimming in a boundless ocean of the unknown, barely noticing this heavy water. Modern Earth science has proven completely powerless in the face of this hidden reality. This invisible mass densely fills the entire vast space between stars and galaxies. It is precisely this mass that forms the very strong gravitational framework of the gigantic cosmic web. Without its powerful influence, all clusters would have long since scattered in different directions. We have called it dark matter, but this name explains absolutely nothing. It is simply a fancy label hung over a gaping hole in our understanding of physics. We have absolutely no idea what mysterious particles make up this invisible substance. Physicists are building giant underground detectors in the hope of catching at least one such particle. But the years go by, and the expensive sensors continue to register only a mocking silence. Dark matter stubbornly refuses to participate in the electromagnetic interactions of our familiar world. It manifests itself exclusively through gravity, bending light and controlling the orbits of stars. Realizing this fact naturally triggers a powerful bout of existential anxiety. We are not merely alone in the cold cosmos. We are complete strangers in this vast reality. The universe itself is built of a material entirely different from that of which we are made. Our familiar, cozy atomic world is a rare anomaly in the boundless realm of dark matter. We are an exception to the rule, a random glitch in the dark architecture of the cosmos. And this invisible, powerful entity is right here, beside us, every second. It isn't hiding somewhere on the outskirts of the cosmos. It is present in our room. It continuously permeates the entire solar system, our Earth, and our own bodies. Billions of dark matter particles are passing through you at this very moment. You don't feel their weight or temperature. They slip through you like a void. We cannot touch them, examine them in detail, or use them in any way in our technologies. To these invisible particles, we simply do not exist, just as brick walls or armor do not exist. We are merely insubstantial ghosts to the true masters of this vast universe. This terrifying thought completely turns all our previous fears about space upside down. We have always trembled with fear that the universe is utterly empty and dead in its infinity. But the real truth turned out to be far worse and more sophisticated than any of our gloomy expectations. The observable universe is filled to the brim. It is incredibly dense, heavy, and massive. But it is filled with something that completely and categorically refuses to interact with us. Imagine for a moment that you live in a huge, noisy, and crowded metropolis, but you have one strange trait. You can only see red cars. You constantly feel as though the city is almost empty, with only the occasional lone car passing through the streets. You cross the street freely, thinking you are in complete and absolute safety. But in reality, the grand life of other mechanisms is raging and boiling all around you. Thousands of trucks are rushing past, which you are simply physically incapable of noticing. It is precisely in this absurd and dangerous position that all of modern terrestrial astrophysics finds itself. Our immense human pride in technological progress now looks simply ridiculous. We have invented quantum computers and successfully split the atom, confidently considering ourselves the crown of creation. Yet we still haven't learned to see 96% of our own home. We are blind kittens trying to describe a huge room by the scent of a single grain of sand. And we don't even have the faintest idea where the light switch is to turn on the light. This is a total defeat of our evolutionary intuition and classical physics. What we always considered emptiness turned out to be the incredibly solid foundation of reality. And what we considered reality, planets and stars, turned out to be merely a light coating. Our colorful world is an illusion, and the true, heavy universe is hidden from us forever. And the scariest thing is that dark matter is only half of our problem. The remaining part of this unknown reality frightens scientists even more. About 27% is invisible dark matter, holding galaxies together. But nearly 68% of the universe consists of something completely different. In desperation, physicists have dubbed this baffling phenomenon dark energy, and its properties defy everything we know about logic and common sense. If dark matter acts as cosmic glue, holding the web of space together, then dark energy is a sinister force trying to tear that web apart. It possesses an anti-gravitational property, pushing massive objects away from one another. It is precisely this force that is responsible for the frightening expansion we mentioned earlier. And, paradoxically, this force only grows stronger over time. We expected that, after the Big Bang, the expansion of the cosmos would gradually slow down. The gravity of all those billions of galaxies was supposed to act as a reliable brake. Our universe was supposed to settle down and become stable and safe. But instead, in the late 1990s, we discovered the exact opposite. The universe is accelerating, as if someone were pressing down on an invisible gas pedal with all their might. The larger the universe becomes, the more dark energy appears in it. This substance is literally born from the expanding vacuum itself. It does not dilute or weaken as the volume of space increases. This looks like a gross violation of the law of conservation of energy, which we learned in school. But the cosmos couldn't care less about our modest earthly rules and calculations. This energy permeates every cubic millimeter of absolute cosmic emptiness. It slowly but surely overcomes gravity within galactic clusters. Right now, it is pushing apart the vast voids, making them even more gigantic. We are inside a mechanism programmed for its own brutal destruction, and we can do absolutely nothing to oppose this cosmic cataclysm. This force is so vast that it is impossible to comprehend or measure it directly. We see only its destructive consequences in the behavior of distant supernovae. Dark energy behaves not as a physical field, but as a property of space itself. It is like a built-in error in the base code of our universe's matrix, an error that is slowly formatting the hard drive of our reality. If we do not understand the nature of 70% of our universe, we understand nothing. All of our physics applies only to the tiny, luminous fluctuations of normal matter. We are trying to describe the ocean by studying the behavior of the foam on the crest of a single wave. The true life of the universe unfolds in the dark sector, inaccessible to our minds. We are merely extra spectators at this strange and frightening cosmic spectacle. And this spectacle is inevitably moving toward its dark and cold finale. Dark energy is winning an unconditional victory over gravity on a cosmic scale. It is tearing apart that very cosmic web, depriving us of our neighbors. Our local group of galaxies is still holding together thanks to internal gravitational forces, but this is only a temporary reprieve in the face of the inevitable absolute end. Scientists are creating complex mathematical models of our solar system's future, and they all point to total isolation and death in an expanding void. We are witnessing a process that will destroy any possibility of intelligent life. The universe is not merely indifferent to us, it is actively erasing us from its equation. This process cannot be stopped, slowed down, or circumvented in any way. Thus, we come to understand the true horror of the universe's scale. The problem is not that we are infinitely small and alone in space. The problem is that space itself is our primary and invincible enemy. It is woven from forces we do not understand, and that lead us to isolation. And our ignorance is the clearest proof of our helplessness. When we bring all these facts together, a truly terrifying picture emerges. For a long time, we sincerely believed that we were looking at the real universe. But it turns out that we see only its colorful outer scenery. The true underlying mechanics of the world are securely hidden behind an impenetrable wall of dark matter. Reality is nothing like what our limited human brains paint it to be. We have become voluntary prisoners of an incredibly lifelike and stunningly beautiful cosmic illusion. Our brain persistently tells us that solid matter is the foundation of all existence. The heavy wooden table in front of you seems absolutely solid and reliable. The vast planet Earth beneath our feet feels like an unshakable and eternal foundation. But quantum physics rigorously proves that atoms consist almost entirely of terrifying emptiness. If we were to remove all the empty space between the nucleus and the electrons, the scale would change dramatically. The entire human race could easily fit into a single standard sugar cube. Our physical density is merely an ingenious trick of quantum fields and electromagnetism. Atoms never actually touch one another. They merely repel each other through their invisible energy shells. You have never truly physically touched a single object in your life. Your nervous system simply interprets this electromagnetic resistance as a sensation of solidity. Our entire tangible world is woven from invisible forces acting in utter emptiness. This realization forces us to completely rethink the very concept of our material existence. Now, extend this illusion of density to the scale of the entire vast universe. Billions of luminous galaxies appear to us as massive objects forming the solid structure of the cosmos. We marvel at their spiral arms, considering them the indestructible foundation of the universe. But they are merely rare, luminous dust caught in the vast webs of true, invisible mass. The light of bright stars hides from us the overwhelming majority of the real physical picture of the cosmos. We are simply blinded by this faint twinkling against the backdrop of the grand cosmic night. We gaze enthusiastically at the night sky and try to find deep meaning there. For centuries, humanity has sought answers to its questions in the mathematical arrangement of the stars. But we naively seek meaning in random glints on the surface of the water. At the same time, we completely ignore the colossal and dark depths of the surrounding ocean. This total dissonance between appearance and essence causes a real scientific shock. Classical Earth science is at a loss in the face of phenomena that cannot be seen or touched. The laws by which our civilization has functioned successfully for centuries are absolutely inapplicable to the universe. We proudly build spaceships, relying exclusively on the physics of 4% of reality. Engineers calculate trajectories, naively believing they know all the necessary variables of this equation. We sincerely hope to conquer the stars, completely unaware of the true nature of the space between them. It is like attempting to cross a raging ocean in a fragile paper boat. And we do this without even knowing of the existence of underwater currents and deadly storms. Perhaps this is precisely why we have not yet found other advanced space civilizations. Astronomers stubbornly search for their radio signals, relying on the laws of our familiar, visible matter. We scan the sky with radars, expecting to hear an electromagnetic burst or message that we can understand. But any truly advanced and ancient intelligence would have long ago realized this monstrous limitation. They would have understood that communicating using ordinary light is like tapping on a wall. Advanced civilizations would inevitably have switched to using cutting-edge dark sector technologies. Such hypothetical ancient races would inevitably become part of the 96% of the universe that we cannot see. If they have learned to masterfully manipulate dark matter, they are completely beyond our physical reach. Their signals, ships, and gigantic megastructures would be completely invisible to Earth's radio telescopes. They could be existing right here, in our own solar system, every single second. To them, we are primitive and fussy creatures floundering in a shallow puddle of ordinary atomic matter. We simply lack the necessary biological senses to perceive their invisible presence. Our best technologies are tied to photons and electrons, which are completely useless to them. This elegantly and logically resolves the famous paradox of our terrifying cosmic loneliness. But at the same time, this elegant solution makes our current situation even more terrifying and hopeless. We are not alone in the void. We are simply utterly incapable of perceiving the true masters of the universe. Our perception is locked within a narrow frequency spectrum, as if in a cramped, soundproof chamber. Our biological form of life may be the most primitive and crude way of existing. To be made of ordinary visible matter is like being made of raw mud and heavy stones. More advanced beings may consist of complex structures of dark matter or pure gravity. And there is absolutely nothing we can do to evolve beyond this physical barrier. Our species is forever bound to carbon and water, which make up an insignificant speck of the cosmos. Our earthly science has painfully hit a brick wall of its own insurmountable biological limitations. We have reached the harsh limit of what a mind composed of neurons can physically comprehend. Advanced mathematics periodically reveals to us the existence of other, incredibly complex levels of reality. The formulas work perfectly, but the universe categorically refuses to give us the keys to these doors. Human intellect has proven to be too feeble a tool to unravel such fundamental mysteries of nature. We are very much like an ordinary fish in an aquarium, which sees distorted shadows of people through the thickness of the water. This fish may vaguely guess that behind the transparent glass lies a vast and complex world. We, too, know with absolute certainty that there is definitely something out there beyond the limits of our narrow perception. But our three-dimensional environment will never allow us to step outside and look around. The rigid laws of nature keep us on a very short and strong gravitational leash. This global existential impasse completely alters the true meaning of our entire scientific quest. Each new generation of expensive orbital telescopes only confirms the depth of our fatal ignorance. We spend billions of dollars to obtain new, clear photographs of the invisible emptiness of space. It is incredibly beautiful. It invariably captivates the general public in front of their screens. But the harsh truth is that this does not bring us a single millimeter closer to a real solution. We are merely endlessly detailing a beautiful holographic map of the prison in which humanity is forever locked. Scientists name new distant galaxies, as if drawing meaningless patterns on the walls of their solitary cells. Knowing the exact dimensions of the prison bars does not make a prisoner a truly free person. Sooner or later, we will have to come to terms with the insurmountable limits of our technological knowledge. The era of great cosmological discoveries risks turning into an era of great cosmic disappointment. We must honestly and openly admit our absolute defeat in the face of the unfathomable nature of the universe. The universe around us has proven too complex, too dark, and too unbearably fast for us. Our lofty ambitions to fully understand it have turned out to be nothing more than the naive hubris of a young biological species. The sooner we realize this bitter fact, the easier it will be for us to accept the harsh reality. But accepting such a humiliating position is practically impossible for the human ego. Returning to the frightening problem of expansion, we see yet another level of hopelessness. Dark energy does not simply mechanically push distant galaxies in different directions across space. Modern research shows that it is capable of radically altering the very essence of time and matter. Scientists are putting forward a grim cosmological hypothesis of the so-called Big Rip of our vast universe. This is the most pessimistic scenario for the future, in which the repulsive force of dark energy becomes completely uncontrollable. The density of this mysterious energy does not decrease as the volume of empty space naturally increases. On the contrary, it may paradoxically increase, making the expansion process incredibly aggressive. Over time, this hidden fundamental power will begin to dominate all other known forces of nature. It will begin to act not only over gigantic intergalactic distances, but right here. The force of gravity, which has reliably held worlds together for billions of years, will simply capitulate to this onslaught. As the expansion accelerates catastrophically, dark energy will begin to tear apart the gravitational bonds within the galaxies themselves. Our home Milky Way, which now seems so solid and stable, will begin to slowly fall apart. The edges of the galactic disk will be the first to break away and fly off forever into a pitch-black void. Stars will lose contact with one another and scatter into the absolute cold darkness of space. The vast luminous spiral that was once our cozy home will turn into a scattered cloud of solitary stars. The night sky above Earth will begin to change rapidly, inevitably emptying with each millennium. It will forever lose the beautiful constellations we are familiar with, celebrated in ancient myths and legends. Our distant descendants will see only an utterly black abyss with a dying sun at its very center. This will be the first serious step toward the complete physical destruction of all astronomical structures known to us. The cosmic winter will assert its harsh dominion, forever erasing light across the entire expanse of the former universe. Then this ominous invisible force will inevitably reach our own solar system. The space between the hot star and the planets will begin to expand at a terrifying and inevitable rate. The planets will be violently torn from their orbits and sent on an endless solitary voyage. Our aging sun will no longer be able to hold Earth in its powerful gravitational field. The system, which has functioned like a precision clock for billions of years, will be shattered in a single instant. The planets will simply dissolve into the rapidly expanding void, losing sight of one another forever. Even our local and safest refuge will be brutally destroyed by the very behavior of space. The massive Jupiter and icy Saturn will vanish beyond a new event horizon, becoming forever out of reach. Earth will remain utterly alone in the frozen cosmos without the slightest source of saving light or heat. But this cosmic nightmare will not stop there for even a second. In the final dramatic hours before the Big Rip, Dark energy will penetrate the very core of dense objects. It will overcome the electromagnetic bonds holding molecules and complex chemical compounds together with frightening ease. Rocky mountains, oceans, human bodies, and our sturdy machines will turn into clouds of individual atoms. Planet Earth will simply explode from within, unable to withstand the monstrous stretching of the very fabric of the universe. Matter itself will finally lose the ability to exist in the solid and stable form we are accustomed to. And in the very last fraction of a second, the very fundamental concept of elementary particles will vanish. The repulsive force of dark energy will easily penetrate the microcosm, tearing atomic nuclei apart into protons and neutrons. Then the strong nuclear force will collapse, and space will destroy even these tiniest components. Quarks will be forever isolated from one another by insurmountable distances of an expanding, airless void. The universe will cease to exist as a structured and logical physical space. It will turn into an infinite, mathematically perfect void, devoid of any meaning, energy, or form. There will be no more starlight, no more time, no more laws of thermodynamics, only absolute zero. This is the absolute death of reality, after which not even a tiny trace of our former presence will remain. No one will write the tragic story of this catastrophe, because there will simply be no one left to witness it. The cosmos will commit a grand suicide, erasing all its majestic creations forever. And although physicists predict this chilling scenario to occur many billions of years from now, it radically changes our perception. It clearly shows that the universe was originally programmed for its complete and unconditional self-destruction. We live within a gigantic mechanism that is inevitably and purposefully heading toward its logical conclusion. No advanced technologies or faster-than-light spacecraft will save us from the global disintegration of space itself. This is a final and irrevocable verdict for absolutely every form of intelligent life. Evolution, technological progress, and science lose all meaning in the face of such a fatal conclusion. This realization makes our current cosmic loneliness even more tragic and philosophically profound. Even if we find other advanced civilizations, we will not be able to build an eternal galactic empire. We will simply share with them the bitterness of the coming end and witness the collapse of their worlds. We will still find ourselves doomed passengers on a sinking ship, slowly sinking into oblivion. All our great cultural achievements, monuments, and treasures will be mercilessly ground into subatomic dust. Beautiful music, art, and great scientific discoveries will vanish without the slightest chance of future restoration. The entire long history of the universe's development will turn out to be nothing more than a meaningless brief flash between two endless periods of emptiness. Nothing matters on the vast scales of time, which is hurtling toward the Big Rip. All our sufferings and victories will dissolve into perfect cosmic nothingness. Perhaps this absolute and terrifying meaninglessness is the main mystery of our universe. We desperately seek logic and a grand purpose where they simply do not exist. We try in vain to impose our petty human fears and naive hopes on the vast and ancient universe. But space is utterly blind, unbearably cold, and mathematically indifferent to our humble existence. It simply blindly follows its physical algorithms, paying no attention whatsoever to the cries of reason. Our best optical instruments show us a terrifying picture of the slow, systematic death of the entire world, and every new orbital telescope only mercilessly refines the details of this massive cosmic funeral process. We have become too intelligent to fail to notice this rapidly approaching global catastrophe of space, but we remain too weak to influence it in any way or alter the inevitable outcome. And this acute contradiction drives anyone who tries to grasp the true scale of what is happening to the brink of madness. We are forced to live with this heavy scientific knowledge every day of our short earthly lives. We look at the sparkling stars and realize with sadness that they are already doomed to a slow fade. Our material world is illusory. Our potential cosmic neighbors are invisible. And our future has already been erased. The scale of the universe overwhelms our fragile minds, not only with its unimaginable physical dimensions or colossal distances. It overwhelms us with the absolute inevitability of its cold and soulless decay. And yet we persist in pointing our antennas into the dead void of space. We scan the sky, trying to find others who have also come to realize this universal horror. We feel that facing the end together with our fellow sentient beings will be a little easier. This is a foolish but incredibly powerful psychological need of our social biological species. We are simply terrified of being left in the dark, completely alone in the face of the unknown. The hope of making contact compels us to spend colossal resources listening to the cosmos. Radio telescopes around the world collect terabytes of data from different corners of the galaxy around the clock. Powerful computers meticulously analyze every suspicious burst of distant cosmic radiation. We are desperately trying to isolate an artificial signal from the natural noise of dead stars and quasars. Decades of searching have brought us nothing but disappointment and the ringing silence of empty space. No one is sending us greeting messages or mathematical formulas for salvation. Space stubbornly refuses to engage in dialogue with the young Earth civilization. But what if this terrifying silence of space is a conscious choice made by all survivors? Perhaps other ancient civilizations have long since understood the true nature of expansion and dark energy. They have realized the absolute futility of any interstellar contact and ambitious attempts at expansion. What is the point of building massive radio beacons if the space around us is inevitably and rapidly falling apart? The wisest course is simply to remain silent and humbly await our inevitable end in silence. Loud cries into the void only drain the precious energy of a doomed world more quickly. Hiding and avoiding unnecessary attention has become their primary survival strategy. Any powerful signal exposes the planet to unknown threats from the dark sector. Advanced races may use cloaking technologies to blend completely with the background radiation of the universe. They voluntarily isolate their worlds, turning them into impregnable information fortresses. In such a scenario, radio silence is a sign of the highest intelligence and a deep understanding of physics. And our noisy behavior looks like a dangerous and incredibly naive childish prank. This hypothesis imbues the great cosmic silence with a completely new, deeply depressing meaning. It is not merely fear of predators, nor strict isolation in galactic quarantine. It is a collective, all-encompassing cosmic apathy in the face of the insurmountable and cruel laws of physics. A highly developed mind quickly comes to understand that any active action is ultimately completely meaningless. And the entire observable universe synchronously sinks into a deep, depressive coma, permanently shutting down its transmitters. The stars continue to burn, but intelligent life around them fades away in complete silence. We are the only ones who still naively make noise in this utterly dead radio spectrum. We are like a frightened child desperately screaming in the empty auditorium of a crumbling movie theater. Our civilization is simply too young to grasp the full extent of its fatal predicament. We still blindly believe in a positive outcome and the possibility of outsmarting the fundamental laws of the universe. But with every new breakthrough in astrophysics, this blind faith rapidly melts away before the eyes of researchers. Harsh mathematical equations leave no room for optimistic scenarios of our salvation. Each new generation of astronomers becomes slightly more cynical than their teachers. The romance of conquering outer space gives way to the cold calculation of physical survival. We are beginning to understand that all those science fiction novels about stellar empires were nothing more than fairy tales. Interstellar travel requires energy that we do not have, and never will have. The universe has constructed a perfect system of isolation that cannot be overcome by our primitive methods. Our home is turning into a golden cage, slowly drifting toward the edge of a cosmic abyss. We have imperceptibly approached a dangerous threshold beyond which science begins to destroy the human psyche. In the past, new knowledge made us stronger and gave us a sense of reliable control over our planet. Now, however, fresh data only underscores our insignificance and absolute cosmic vulnerability. The exploration of the macrocosm has turned into a form of sophisticated intellectual masochism for modern scientists. We voluntarily peer into the abyss that is slowly and surely swallowing our proud minds. And the price of this knowledge turns out to be exorbitantly high for our fragile biological consciousness. And the strangest thing is that we cannot stop this self-destructive scientific quest. Our inquisitive minds insistently demand answers, even if those answers are guaranteed to drive us mad. We stubbornly build new giant orbital stations and plan missions into the cold cosmos. We are like blinded moths, flying time and again into the searing light of cruel cosmic truth. We are driven by an ancient curiosity that evolution forgot to equip with self-preservation instincts against information. We are ready to sacrifice our peace of mind for a tiny speck of knowledge about the structure of the void. This insatiable thirst for knowledge is locked within the bodies of beings composed of a paltry 4% of reality. We desperately try to crack the code of the universe, using tools that the universe itself has rejected. It is a battle we are bound to lose, whose grim outcome was predetermined even before the first stars appeared. Our existence is merely a fleeting and utterly insignificant fluctuation in the vast dark sector. And there is absolutely nothing we can do about it except passively watch the outcome. Nature delivered us a final checkmate at the very moment of the Big Bang. The average person rarely thinks about such frightening things in the hustle and bustle of daily life. But for astrophysicists, this cruel truth has become a professional curse from which there is no escape. They look at the graphs of the expansion of space and see a countdown timer for all that exists. The numbers on the glowing monitors suggest that our entire history is meaningless. Great earthly empires, scientific discoveries, and works of art will simply dissolve into the cold void. This thought paralyzes the will and causes one to deeply doubt the purpose of any progress. Perhaps this is the ultimate answer to all our eternal existential philosophical questions. The true, unimaginable scale of the universe exists solely to shatter any ego and pride forever. It vividly shows us our exact place in the grand mechanism, a place of absolute zero. We are not the center of the universe. We are not even its periphery or an important cog in the system. We are random dust that has become self-aware only to realize our own insignificance. The cosmos has taught us the harshest lesson in humility in the history of intelligent life, and with this heavy knowledge, we must somehow continue to live on our small planet. We will have to go to work every morning, raise children, and make plans for next summer. We will drink our morning coffee, knowing full well that 96% of reality is invisible and hostile. This is a colossal cognitive dissonance that humanity must cope with every single day. Our ordinary, measured lives have become a screen behind which the terrifying face of the infinite cosmos hides. We play our frantic roles in a theater whose building is slowly collapsing into a bottomless abyss. We have created a protective cocoon around ourselves made of culture, entertainment, and petty everyday concerns. This cocoon helps us keep from going mad from the chilling breath of infinite space. Information noise perfectly distracts us from terrifying thoughts about dark energy and vast voids. We prefer to discuss fictional problems, just so we don't have to face the laws of physics head-on. The psyche activates powerful defense mechanisms, blocking any information about our true situation. This is a collective form of madness that helps our species survive in the unbearable conditions of reality. We have learned to ignore this horror almost perfectly in order to preserve our own sanity and the peace of society. But every time we look up at the starry sky, this fear returns. We no longer see beautiful constellations or worlds for future grand space voyages. We see only a bottomless, expanding abyss that slowly erases any trace of our presence. The light of the stars seems to us like a farewell bonfire on the shore of an endless, dark ocean of death. And we finally understand why this abyss always maintains such a deathly silence. What remains for us after realizing all these devastating facts about the scale of the universe? We find ourselves locked tight in a tiny bubble of visibility that is rapidly shrinking around us. We are made of completely insubstantial matter that has no real weight in space. Our vaunted science is powerless against the invisible forces tearing galaxies apart right now. It seems like an absolute, cold, and hopeless dead end for our entire ambitious human species. Logic tells us to give up and simply wait for the inevitable end of this whole story. However, the human mind is surprisingly paradoxical and capable of finding a way out even from such a trap. When the pressure of an unsolvable problem reaches its peak, a strange psychological transformation of our consciousness occurs. Panic gives way to philosophical calm, and clinging fear yields to a cold acceptance of harsh reality. If we cannot influence anything on a cosmic scale, then we are freed from responsibility. The burden of universal expectations falls from our shoulders, leaving behind a ringing lightness of being. We cease to be the saviors of the galaxy and become merely its temporary, curious guests. But within this total hopelessness lies a strange and twisted form of absolute cosmic freedom. If the universe has no higher meaning, then we are free to invent that meaning ourselves. If no one is waiting for us among the stars, then we are not obligated to live up to anyone's expectations. Our utter insignificance on the cosmic scale renders all our great earthly mistakes completely insignificant. The cosmos couldn't care less about our petty wars, economic crises, and the collapse of entire empires, which, paradoxically, soothes our nerves. In this indifferent void, we can allow ourselves to simply be ourselves. Suddenly, what happens right here and now becomes the most important thing in the universe. A loved one's smile, the beauty of an earthly sunset, or a good book take on immense value against the backdrop of the abyss. We learn to cherish the moment, realizing its incredible fragility and transience on the vast scale of eternity. Our planet transforms into a precious oasis, lost in the hostile and utterly lifeless environment of the cosmos. Caring for one another becomes the only reliable anchor in the raging ocean of cosmic chaos. Love and compassion prove far more important than building gigantic interstellar warships. We can simply live in peace, enjoying our brief flash of consciousness in this boundless void. Our small human joys and deep sorrows are the only things that truly matter right now. Even if 96% of the world is hidden in darkness, we will do our utmost to illuminate our meager 4%. In our local cosmic bubble, we are the full-fledged creators of our own illusion of reality. And until dark energy tears us apart into atoms, We have the right to simply exist happily. Our rebellion against meaninglessness lies in our very thirst for a full life. Perhaps the true meaning is not to understand the entire vast and terrifying universe in its entirety. The meaning lies in always having the courage to ask questions, knowing full well in advance that there are no answers. Our ability to be genuinely amazed and to feel fear makes us unique beings in this cold void. The soulless mechanisms of stars and dark matter do not know fear of event horizons or the expansion of space. Only our fragile human mind is capable of comprehending its own tragedy on such a grand scale. We are the very instrument through which the universe makes sense of its own inevitable decay. Our very consciousness is the greatest anomaly among dead rocks and scorching stellar plasma. It defies the second law of thermodynamics, creating order amidst the growing entropic chaos of the universe. Even if our mind is made of the wrong kind of matter, it is capable of incredible intellectual feats. We compose moving symphonies, prove complex theorems, and construct philosophical systems literally out of nothing. This spark of creativity shines brighter than any supernova because it possesses meaning. And even if this spark fades sooner or later, the very fact of its existence is already a miracle. And in this bitter realization lies our sole, yet incredibly majestic, superiority over the cosmos. We are physically smaller than an insignificant grain of sand, but that grain of sand was able to measure the size of the beach and be awestruck by it. We proudly challenged infinity, trying to cram it into our strict, earthly mathematical equations. We have knowingly lost this battle, but the very fact of our audacious attempt makes us worthy of immense cosmic respect. We are the only known witnesses to this grandiose and meaningless physical spectacle in absolute emptiness. Our role as invisible observers lends this eerie spectacle at least some sense of completeness. Our powerful radio telescopes will continue their work, despite all the grim predictions of modern theorists. We will stubbornly and methodically listen to the dead ether, hoping to hear at least a faint echo in response. Not because we are too foolish or naive, but because such is our indomitable biological nature. We resolutely refuse to surrender in the face of the cold mathematical verdict of our cruel and dark reality. And this illogical, stubborn hope is the most vivid manifestation of the strength of our frail human species. We will search for brothers in reason right up until the very last day before the Big Rip. The scientific method continues to work, gathering bit by bit knowledge about our beautiful and terrifying prison. Every dissertation written and every new formula discovered becomes a monument to immense human perseverance. We are creating colossal data archives that may never be of use to anyone in the future. But this continuous process of archiving reality saves us from sliding into primitive barbarism and despair. We keep a detailed chronicle of the universe with the incredible meticulousness of a doomed but proud chronicler. And in this painstaking work lies our highest purpose as an intelligent biological species. Every new physical theory, even the most terrifying one, brings us one step closer to the truth. We are slowly and painfully peeling away the layers of soothing illusions, exposing the frightening skeleton of our real cosmic home. Perhaps we will remain blind kittens forever, but we will know the exact dimensions of our cage. This is an honest and courageous acknowledgement of our own limits, one that only a truly mature civilization is capable of. We are no longer children hiding from imaginary monsters under the blanket of our naive physical laws. We have grown up enough to face the end of the world with our visors raised. We look these cosmic monsters straight in the eye, even if those eyes are woven entirely from dead emptiness. We accept with dignity the harsh rules of a game in which we have not a single chance of winning. Our world may indeed be nothing more than a mistake, a simulation, or a quarantine zone for dangerous viruses. But this is our only world, and we will stubbornly study it until the very last second available. This is our collective manifesto, boldly thrown in the face of the indifferent and expanding abyss of the dark cosmic vacuum. Our response to the death of space is an absolutely unbreakable will for scientific knowledge. The history of humanity turns out to be not a triumphant march to the stars, but a beautiful and very sad elegy. We are a brief musical phrase played in a vast empty hall without a single listener. But the true value of music is not measured by how many listeners heard it, or how many centuries it has been played. What matters is the harmony of the notes at that very moment when the instrument resonated in the hands of a talented musician. Our planet has become that very fragile instrument on which we played our finest evolutionary symphony. And we can take pride in every note, despite the impending absolute silence of the cosmos. True reality turned out to be completely different from how we romantically imagined it at the dawn of our development. It is unimaginably larger, immeasurably more terrifying, and filled to the brim with entities we are physically incapable of perceiving. Our place in it is laughably and insignificantly small, and our future is predetermined by the harsh laws of universal decay. And yet, we are right here and now, fully aware of every terrifying fact about this structure. And this clear awareness is quite enough to acknowledge that our accidental existence is by no means in vain. We have done a magnificent job of fulfilling our task of being the eyes of this blind and indifferent universe. Therefore, when you look up at the starry night sky again, do not try to find childish comfort there. Look at it with the utmost clarity of understanding the colossal horror hidden behind that cold light. You are facing the greatest mystery of the universe, one that will never allow you to fully unravel it. You are a silent witness to a grand collapse, a participant in a great illusion, and a captive of dark, invisible matter. But it is you who are capable of feeling the grandeur of the moment, standing on the very edge of the cosmic abyss. And in this terrifying realization lies the most striking and piercing beauty of our vast universe. Our journey into the true scale of the cosmos has reached its logical and inevitable conclusion. We began with familiar earthly dimensions and ended with the complete destruction of our ego and science. The universe has deceived us in the most elegant and cruel way of all possible mathematical scenarios. It has shown us just enough light for us to realize the absolute and eternal darkness surrounding us. We are left alone with our fears, trapped on a tiny grain of sand in a boundless, expanding void. Now you know that unpleasant truth that people so rarely discuss on popular shows. Our world consists of emptiness, is governed by the unknown, and is inevitably heading toward its complete disintegration. We are simply physically incapable of perceiving the overwhelming majority of what exists right around us. But it is precisely this cold knowledge that makes us truly free from any earthly illusions of the past. We have finally opened our eyes, even if the picture we saw made us shudder with primal horror. And if this ominous silence of the cosmos truly conceals some fundamental mystery, we will continue to search. Humanity will never give up on attempts to peer beyond the event horizon and outwit reality itself. Perhaps one day we ourselves will become part of this invisible dark sector and understand all the rules. But until then, we will persistently shout into the void, challenging the endless dead ether. Because to give up and remain silent in response means to admit our final and unconditional defeat.